All right, so we are going to do a quick rundown of how to set up lights, where to put the table, where to put the mic for some sort of green screen news type show. So first of all, let's talk about the green screen lights. So here is one of them. A few things just to take note is that it's kind of pointed about a third over, and then the other one will be about a third this way. So, and if you pan down for me for a second, just again, keep note that we want to keep our cables tidy. We don't want it tangled up in the middle of everywhere for people to trip on. But here's the light, real simple. It's already plugged in and we have a light. Notice that I have it right on this corner here, so the other one will be the exact same thing. This one's already plugged in too. These lights do require a good amount of power, so if we're in a big room, we should definitely plug them in different areas, because 2 of these should be fine. 3, definitely 4 would probably break or trip the power. So spread them out so that you're kind of making it a little bit easier. And that's really it for the green screen. It should look pretty even, which that does. Let's talk about the position of the table. Pretty simple. Just put it in the middle. You're going to want your people. All right, you're going to want your people in front of these lights. If they're behind it, you're going to be getting shadows and things. So the table is way out here, which is good. If you're going to have, say 2 people, then it makes sense to have this leg here, because then you can have 2 people kind of centered. If you're going to have 1 or maybe 3 people, turn it this way, and now you can have those chairs. So I'll put these out here real quick. So person 1. And person 3. Again, now you can kind of get it nice and center facing this direction. All right, so we have the green screen lights. We need the people lights. So here is one of them. I'm not going to say too much other than kind of get as close as you can without being in the shot. And when we're kind of sitting sideways like this and we got a few people, I would have your softbox this way. If you had somebody standing, you could probably flip it around this way. But usually we're sitting like this, so that'll be good. Again, plug it in. Try not to keep any cable in the air that you'll trip on. If there's extra, remember it's called dressing the cable. Just get it all nice under the light. On these ones, there's an on switch up there. And for something like this, we'll just go all the way up to 100%. There's a knob, and there's one light. We'll get the other one. Again, same height. As long as it's above your actors or your people talking, that's really what you want. So if they're seated, this would be perfect. Let me plug this one in. Again, as you can see, there is an on switch up here, and there is a knob. I'm just going to go up to 100%. All right, so the last thing on this video is really simple. We have a mic. And just like the lights, we're just going to get it as close as we can without being in the shot. This would probably be in the shot, so you'd have to actually look at your camera. Point is, though, we're getting it close. You're going to aim it at your talent, so whoever's talking. Move that light back a little bit. So if there's just one person, just aim it right at their mouth. If there's 2 or 3, you can kind of put it towards the middle of the table and you should be good. This little dangling part of the cable we probably don't want because it'll probably be in the shot. All you got to do is wrap it around the arm there and you're good to go. And you have an XLR cable, which I'll plug into the mic. I'll show you on the next video. But for now, I guess you could probably see it right now. Just put it right into the input. You're good to go. So we have 4 lights. We got 2 on the green screen, 2 on our people. We got the mic where it needs to go. Everything is centered. Everything is good to go. And that's really it for the light position, the table position, and the microphone position. All right, so we're We're going to talk about how to just make sure all these cameras are connected properly. I'm not concerned about operating the cameras. That's a different video, different time. Just making sure everything's connected properly. So what we have is 2 cameras. I'm going to get them connected, make sure we make sure everything's clear, and then we'll go from there. We are using these little transmitters for our video to get it to the computer that we are mixing on. So let's just go through this step by step. What we have right here, let me loosen this up, is the microphone. This is the one that we saw in the last video. This is going to be our camera 1. So what does that mean? It means that we have 2 transmitters and they are labeled. This one's 1, this one's going on this camera. Pretty simple. You got the little red wheel, slide it into the cold shoe, tighten it down, and you've got that transmitter on there. Okay. These transmitters have 2 ways of working. You can use an SDI, which is probably going to be the better option if we have it. This camera does not. Or you have on the back side, you have an HDMI. This camera has what's called a mini HDMI port, so that's plugged in. And then on the other side is a full HDMI, and that just gets plugged into the back side, and you are now fully connected to the transmitter. I'll even turn it on, little power buttons right here. All right, so this transmitter, it's called transmitter because it's sending something. We got receivers in the other room. So this is connected. This is, again, camera number 1 because it has the audio connected. You might have a power adapter, but currently we just have a battery on there, so we're good to go. And that's really it for this camera. I'm going to go to this camera and do it one more time. Again, these transmitters, they have the battery here. The release is a button there in case you ever need to swap it out. So again, I'm just going to loosen, slide it on. Looks like it needs to go this way. Tighten that down so it doesn't come off. And, okay. All right, so we still have the mini HDMI cable to the full HDMI that gets plugged into the back side. I'll turn this on. You might even be able to see it, maybe not. And that is currently on and ready to transmit. So these cameras really have everything they need right now. This one has the audio and the transmitter. This one just has the transmitter. And just really the last thing you'd want to do in this room is turn on the TV, and there is a power button. It is right in the middle, right above that red light. This is so that the people that are talking can see what's happening. All I recommend is to make sure that you see, we have an HDMI 4 port being used, and it actually showed up right away. It even says HDMI 4. This has a HDMI coming from the computer, so the computer is sending the image to the TV. So the cameras are going to the computer, and then the computer is going back to the TV. So really, other than getting your cameras pointed the right direction and all that stuff, you're really ready to go inside of the studio. And next we'll look at making sure the computer is set up properly. Okay. All right. All right, so let's talk about connecting everything together for receiving the video and then sending it out to the TV in the other room. What we have right here are just two power cables. That's all we need. One is for the monitor, one is for the computer itself. And then we also have the video connection. This is actually a DisplayPort cable. This is getting a signal from the computer, which we'll look at in a second. So the monitor has just 2 cables, the power and the DisplayPort cable. What we have are our 2 transmitters. I'm going to actually grab the other one. Again, they are numbered, so number 1 goes with the number 1 in the other room. I'm going to put the battery on here. Notice this time we are using the SDI cable, and on the back, if you can't see it, but there are input 1 and input 2. So this, being number 1, will go into the input 1. And then I'll go ahead and turn that on. Again, power is just on the back. I'm going to set that down for a second, get the other one up and going. Go ahead and Plug that one into number 2. Go ahead and get that one turned on. These ones don't really need to get mounted on anything at the moment. I'm just going to set them down on the table. I am going to wait and see a second. Make sure it connects. Give it just one more second. This one might be having some trouble connecting. Oh, there it is. All right, so this one says channel 1. So the number 2 matching one in the other room should be on channel 1 as well. You can't see it, but the other one is channel 8, so that the transmitter in there should also be on channel 8. So this is receiving the video from the other room. All right, let's talk about what else is connected down here. So we have the power, simple. Down here you got 2 USB because we have a keyboard and a mouse. The blue cable is your Ethernet, so in case we are going to be going to the internet to stream something, obviously we need some internet. Here is the display port, the top one, which is going to the monitor, and then here is that HDMI that's going back into the other room onto the big TV. And that looks like everything that's there. Right here, I just want to point out that again, you have a green input that is for your headphones so that you can listen to what is actually happening. That really should be every connection, and that should do it. All right, so we're going to go through how to set up a streaming profile and or recording, and then we will go through a practice run through. So what I would start with is going down into the folder option, and if you go to the media drive, here is some other folders we have of some programs we made. So I would make a new one, just right click and we'll make a new folder. We're going to call this one, since it's our AV2 final, called AV2 final. Based on the items that are based on who's filming, we already have some assets. So like we have a background image for the video, and then we have an intro that may or may not work. If I hit play, let's see. Yeah, let's open that up in VLC. And then we have a background video for the beginning. So we have 2 assets. We're going to put those in that folder too. It's nice to have everything inside a single folder so that you don't have to be hunting for things. Just like always, keep things kind of nice, clean, and orderly. So we have 2 assets. We might need some other things later depending on what actually gets filmed. But for now, that's all we need. Again, it's on the media drive. We made a new folder, AV2 final, and there are our 2 assets. What you cannot see on the screen is to make sure that the TV in the studio is already on, which it is, and to make sure that you have your transmitters turned on the camera, which they are, and to make sure that the receivers are connected properly to the computer, which they are also done as well. That's on a different video to make sure that's all connected properly. So we should be able to go into Wirecast. So asking about tutorials. We don't really care about that, so let's just get rid of that. All right, so once you are in Wirecast, I would just go ahead and save this profile. You can save this just like anything else so that once we have things set up, it's already ready to go for the next time. And what that means is I'm just going to go into File. I'm going to go to Save. And then I will go to that same folder. So I'm going to go to Media Drive. This is for the AV2 Final. And I will call it AV2 Final. Okay. Next, let's set up a couple things in the output so that we have what we need there. So really, it's 2 things. The first one we'll set up is the output settings. Currently, there is no settings for this to be recorded or streamed. There's streaming options, which we can talk about another time, but for what we're doing in class, and we're doing a YouTube show or something, or a news show, we want to simply record to disk, and we'll do MP4. Click OK. It comes in with 1280 by 720. That's not what we usually record at, but for something like this, that's probably going to be on YouTube or just kind of for that kind of purpose,
and that will be fine. And we can just click OK. It's already checked. All right, so this is going to be spliced in here. When we first did this video, I forgot to tell you one thing about this process. So here's this part one more time. The output is where you're going to do the settings, which you just saw, for the where the video is going, whether it's going to be recorded or streamed. Again, I already talked about that. I'll go to MP4 and click OK. What I did not say, though, is that we do want to change the file where it's going. Otherwise, it's going to end up somewhere where we don't want it. Again, we want everything inside the folder that we created for this project, for this show, or whatever it is we're working on. So click Browse, go to Media Drive, go to the project folder that you're working on, and go ahead and hit Save there, and then click OK. I'm going to hit Record. Nothing really happening, but I do want to show you that when I hit Stop, there is now, down here, in the Media Drive, in the AV2 folder, there is now a recorded video. Again, there was nothing there. So if I hit play, it's just, that, because that's all that was there. So there you go. Back to everything else. All right, the next thing in output, this is not really for you. This is for the people that are going to be the talent, the ones that are going to be talking on camera. You want them to be able to see the screen in the studio. So very simply, for this external display output, you just want to turn that to display 1. Again, this will not show up if that TV in the other room is not already on. So we'll turn that on. It doesn't really change anything for us. It's just for them. So a couple other things to kind of change up here is we don't really want smooth transitions, which is kind of like a fade from one camera to the next. We want it just to go an immediate cut. So I'm going to hold down and change that to cut. The other thing is that we want to be able to swap back and forth between cameras. Right now, this button just means it's going to take the left to the right, and then it won't do anything else after that. And so let's change that. Up here under Switch is Live Preview Swap. I'm going to click that, and now you'll see 2 arrows. So basically, at this point, when we have some cameras up here and I hit the space bar, it's just going to keep swapping back between those 2 cameras, which sometimes that's all you need. Depends on what it is we're filming. All right, so we have some of that stuff done. Down here are our rows. So basically think the top row is going to show above this row and then above this row and above this row. So if you have like a background image for the green screen, you're not going to want that on, say, the top row because it's going to block your camera and some other stuff. So here's what I would suggest. This top row, leave empty in case you want to like type something on the screen above the people talking. That's what we can kind of use that for. We're going to leave that one empty. The second row is where we're going to add our main video, our cameras or our intro video. So I'll go ahead and add in the intro video right now. So you've got, you can add cameras, you can add monitors and audio and things. I'm going to click this little document and I'm going to add a video shot. Actually, sorry, we'll do that one next. No, that's right. I was thinking camera. So we're going to add a video shot, and we're going to go to that folder where we have our stuff. So Media Drive, AV2 Final, and here's that YouTube intro, and here it is. So if I click it and I go to swap, it autoplays. Now, I would suggest doing a couple things here. So if I click this gearbox, I'm going to edit shot. What we don't want it to do is we don't want it to loop. So I'm going to just do hold so that if we let it play a little too long, we will just let it stop rather than start over. And then sometimes we swap it and we're not ready and then we swap it back. But then if we hit swap again, then it remembers where we stopped it. So basically, I want it to start over every time that we do actually click on it. So this is begin playing when media becomes live. That's good. This is remember position. That's what we don't want it on for what we typically do. So I'm going to turn that off, and that is it for that one. All right, next on this same row, we're going to add in our cameras. So we have shot 1 and we have shot 2. All right, so if I click on shot 1, you're going to see, you can't hear it, but you're going to see some audio that's playing, which is good. Again, it's kind of going up to -18, -12. You know, this is the good range, -18 to -6. I mean, we don't want it to go to 0. We don't want it to stay way down here because down here you won't be able to hear it, and up here it's going to sound like garbage. But if I switch to the other camera, there is no more audio. So what you have to do is set it up so that the audio from this camera gets applied to both cameras, and that is actually pretty easy. So if I click in this gearbox, again, it's always going to be, if you set it up right, the way we talked about on the other videos, it's always going to be audio is coming from the cam 1. So this one does not need to be changed. The audio is coming from camera 1 and the video is coming from camera 1. That one's fine. This one, this is camera 2, but the audio is coming from camera 2, which there is no audio there. I'm going to unclick that, go back in there, and turn on camera 1. So now we do see audio there. And if I switch, the audio is still there. Again, you can't hear it on this video, but it is the exact same audio going back and forth between the two cameras. And that's pretty simple for that stuff. Some videos, again, if we wanted to put a picture up here, I'll show you that in a second. That is something that might need to happen. But let's put in the green screen background, which is going to go on this third layer. So for that, I'm going to go again into the add picture shot this time. And then we'll go into the folder. And here is the background picture. And here is our background. Now, you can't see it even though I clicked on it, because as you hopefully remember, everything above it is showing unless you turn the above things off. And how do you do that? By clicking this blank shot. So I'm going to click blank there even though there's nothing there. And I'm going to click blank here, which is currently looking at this camera. Once I do that, you will see that background picture. And we're good to go. So it is there. I'm going to clear everything out. I always do that kind of when we're switching, which we'll talk about that once we actually kind of do a little practice here in a second. So these things are set up. I'll go ahead and show you guys how to do the green screen, which may or may not look great right now because our lighting is not up there properly. But for the green screen, here's the process. Again, we go into the gearbox for that camera. We go to edit shot. We go over to, I believe, right here, chroma key. And we will use chroma key. And right there, all of that stuff went away. Again, it might not look perfect. Basically, our options are we can fine-tune things using these sliders, which right now, see how it's changing right there. So point is, we want it black back there. We wouldn't want anything else showing. Or if I pull this up now, which it will show up in the background, especially if I go back in here and slide that over. So now we see that. So our goal is to basically get rid of all the green. We don't want to get rid of other stuff. We don't want to see that fuzz. The goal is to make it look as clean in the background as possible. So like this would be bad right there. So I'm gonna go back to the default. Again, it looks decent. There is a little funniness right here, but this is just for a practice right now, so I'm not concerned about that. But the goal is to use these sliders to make that background look clean without any of this stuff happening. So close that, and that saves. I'll go ahead and do this one next. Gearbox, edit shot, chroma key. Notice that I'm actually selected on the wrong one, so I'm gonna go to the one we're on, which is 2. Use the chroma key, and again, it's gone. Again, we're having some funny stuff happen on this chair for what we're doing right now. I'm not worried about that, but it would be some sliders just to make it look as clean as possible. And I will close that. All right, so now that background stays no matter what happens with this because it is selected, which is good. Okay. All right, just for an example of this, let's say we are on this kind of close-up camera. Let's say we want a picture of a restaurant up here. So I'm going to show you how to do that and actually make it look off to the side a little bit smaller. So we would add a picture shot. We'll go back into that media where there was some pictures. Now here's cookout. So if I click it, it's going to show up. Okay, we probably don't want it that big. So what I'm going to do is go to the gearbox, edit shot, and I can use just a regular left click. I can drag it around. If I use, let's see what else. So if you hold down Alt on your keyboard, while you click, you can make it smaller, which is kind of probably what we'd want. We'd kind of want it a little bit smaller. I'll let go of Alt. Again, just a regular left click. I can kind of put it off to the side there. So now we have that if she was, talking about cookout. And again, I can just clear everything out if we don't want that. So that's pretty much set up the way we would need it. So if you're just working on getting kind of a thing set up for a show, this would pretty much take care of it. Again, the only thing I didn't talk about is streaming, which we can talk about that when we need that. But yeah, so let's go into now what we would do if this were actually live. And let me actually add in one more picture for that. Let's go with a Popeye's chicken sandwich. All right, so again, I'm going to make this smaller. Gearbox, edit shot. I'm going to hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and then click, make it smaller. Let go of the Alt key and then drag it over there with just the regular mouse. And now we have that stuff going there. All right, so if this were a show, what I would do from here, we'll do a quick little show without somebody actually standing there. I would set up the intro because the moment we're ready, we're going to go. Again, the people on the talent should be able to see what's happening, but it's always good to have somebody that's kind of indicating to them when to go. So if you're working the computer, it's nice to have somebody next to you that can give some hand signals to the person that is actually the talent that is talking. But they do have the screen in front of them. They should be able to see like when their face pops up and it's time to start talking. So if we were going to, and I will just say we are doing this properly, so we're going to go ahead and hit record. Again, we can always delete the chunks that we don't need after the fact, so we can put that into Premiere and just trim it down a little bit, or we might not even need to go into Premiere. There's other ways of just cutting off a little bit real easily. But we are recording, so the process would be simple. Our intro is up, everything else is cleared out, and we would just switch it. At which point we would want to set up one of our cameras. So I'm going to clear everything out. Let's go with our wide camera and the background. And then we'd let that person know who's talking, that it's about to begin, and then we would switch it and we would see them talking. So I would go ahead and clear everything else over out here. We'll go ahead and do the medium shot background, and let's say we also want this little picture here. So that when we hit next, we can go ahead and swap it. And now the picture's up there. Let's say the next one, we're not going to change the camera. I don't need to click anything here or here. We're just going to swap the picture that's up there. But notice this is the wide camera. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the medium. This is what we want. So when she's ready to talk about the Popeye sandwich, we can swap to that. At which point, let's say she's going to wrap things up. We don't really need any picture up in here. Again, sometimes it's just to clear everything out on the left side so you know what you're looking at. Maybe go back to the wide camera. Make sure you add in that background. And then we swap it. She's saying her stuff. See you next time. And then we can cut it. And that would basically be a show. And I'm trying to think, but I'm pretty sure that covers everything that you would need to do. So good luck.